Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven. I'm here with my wonderful guest tonight, Merlin Wizard, and of course we have Madeline Rudy. You know, it's wonderful to talk with both of you tonight. I'm so glad you joined us.
We are too.
Wow, that's creepy. Okay, that's kind of synthesized and machine oriented.
Oh, we've got a script. We practiced. We rehearsed before the show. You see.
We do that a lot.
You guys crack me up. Yeah, you're the type of people I would love to have as neighbors.
Okay.
You know? I'd like to pick my own neighbors. What's that?
One on each side.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe not for you all.
The left side. You take the right side.
Maybe we should do our own communities. I always think about that. You know, having a really cool community of people. And
the BlueRaven community.
Something. It doesn't have to be named after me, but maybe Merlin too. I love that also. Merlin, do you come from a bloodline of royalty or something connected to that, or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Seems like you would.
Are you bowing?
Not really. Do you want me to? I have royalty too, bud, so really.
No, I don't come from a bloodline of royalty. I just come from a normal homely family. We got ancestry, ancestry in Wales on my dad's side, and ancestry from France on my mum's side. So nice. Quite a mixture. We're hybrids. Yeah. And my dad's mum was a bit strange. From Wales, Welsh people can be quite different from lots of other people. So yeah, she was actually sold. Her history, which we didn't find out till she died when she was 83, a few years ago now. She was actually sold by her parents to a dairy farmer, as a dairy maid. This is back in the turn of the last century, 1900s.
Wow.
In those days, like when they used to have apprentices, they'd give up their children to chimney sweeps and whoever. Anyway, because they had several other children, they couldn't afford to keep them all. So when she was about 12 years old, they sold her to this farmer. Mm-hmm. But somehow she found her way to London, and I think what she did was she got a milk train one morning, and went to London and eloped. She probably had enough of being a dairy maid. And when she met my granddad, and they lived happily ever after. But the funny thing was, which again, my uncles didn't find out until she died, because they were looking for paperwork and documents. They couldn't find a marriage certificate. And so when they looked at the records and everything, they realized that their mum and dad had never got married.
Oh, boy.
Can you imagine? In the 30s and 40s.
We can.
And they had 4 children.
Wow. Interesting.
And she was always reciting the Bible to us.
Whoa. Well,
So, yeah, it was a funny thing.
But how did you find all that out?
Well, when she died, they went through her paperwork to try and find out, things that you need to do when somebody dies. And they couldn't find a marriage certificate, and they couldn't find all sorts of other documents that should be there. And then when they investigated, they went to the records office to find out, and went to the church whether they're married or not married. Anyway, turned out there was no record of them being married. They told everybody they were, but they weren't.
Well, so after 7 years, they were common law.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like 6 months now, your common law marriage, isn't it? Something like that.
Is it?
A year. I don't know.
Yeah,
like dismantled that.
This would have been back in the 20s and 30s. I don't know how it worked then. Yeah.
I think they had it back then. Very interesting.
Women had to be married to have status, didn't they, in those days? Because they were considered property until the 50s. A woman couldn't divorce her husband. The husband had to agree to it.
Insane.
Quite a different world in those days. Yeah.
So it becomes a more and more distorted world sometimes. But yeah, we've come a long way. So hopefully things won't be going in reverse. I sometimes see that. I see a lot of primordial activities where people are just kind of going backwards in their evolution, which is kind of concerning.
It is strange, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, it's true. Lots of laws have been repealed that were fought for 100 years ago. People actually gave their lives for, and even during the First World War, lots of things happened. When the soldiers that did survive came back, lots of social reforms came in, giving people more rights, in particular housing rights, for example, so that slums were removed. And that has all been removed over the past 10 years or so by the authorities, by leaders, and they tend to do it discreetly, or they don't. They do it like when we're watching the Olympic Games, for example, so nobody protests against it. So they pass it by default, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of that going on these days.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think it's when the Olympic Games are going on, Merlin. I think they create some kind of smoke screen with something else.
That's right.
And then, yeah.
They do it all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what were they doing there in Washington?
Yeah. And you only know that it's not there when you need it. When you got some kind of dispute going on, you want to do something like you want to go and vote, and you find out you haven't got a voting card. You can't do it. It's really quite scary how people are being undermined, I suppose, by people who are elected to protect us.
Yeah. Have you noticed a big shift over there in the UK insofar as just what's happening to your own land? Are you losing your heritage over there, do you think? Or is it just, something else?
There's been, there's such a mixture of people, opinions going on, but what's happened since, again, see the stealth thing, since the UK has been part of the EC, so many rights have been eroded. And there's organisations, there's something called 0 hours contracts, where there's no union rights anymore, and employers can exploit people just like they could in the Victorian times, where you turn up for work and they'll say, oh, there's no work for you today, go home. And people don't know if they're going to be working this week or next week, and because they signed a contract, they can't go and work for somebody else. And it's really quite weird, and there's been some scandals with a particular company where they've fined people for going to the toilet, for example, for taking too long. It's really quite scary. Yeah. There was a woman who was pregnant, and she was so scared of losing her job, she didn't take maternity leave.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really it's horrible what's been going on. People.
There's no way to live. That's what I mean. We could have changed it. Go ahead.
This is one of the reasons people voted to leave the EC, you see, because it's all come about from being involved in that and that bureaucracy. And there's so much stuff going on where MEPs having an allowance for transport, and they'd have 10,000 euros for a chauffeur-driven vehicle, and they just drive them a few hundred yards to their hotel, from the parliament, as it were. And so much stuff going on like that, which just doesn't make any sense, and nobody's changing it. And the ordinary person in the individual country doesn't realize it's going on, and doesn't have any say in it. There's no proper democracy about it.
Right.
So it's sort of quangos set up. These groups of people, once they're there, once they've been elected into the seat, they seem to be able to do what they like. Mm-hmm. And the EC hasn't signed off any accounts for years, audited any of their accounting. So nobody really knows where the money goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds like a restructure is in need.
Yeah, and this is why people have decided they don't want anything to do with it. And other countries are also, the people in the other countries want to leave, but of course the leaders got too much going on, and there's so much money invested. Individuals who are wealthy have invested money into the system. They don't want the countries to leave, and even here, House of Lords is resisting the vote. They're trying to bring up reasons why we can't leave, and it's causing a lot of splits with people in communities.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite
I think overall, it seems to me the whole agenda is really about encapsulating people into a limited evolution, whether it's through spirituality, consciousness, or whatever. It just seems like they're really trying to switch people off from their ascension process. And of course, to me, I'd like to see things on a more utopia level, really. I'd like to see a global ascension, but it's going to take work, and it's going to take people doing it. But we certainly can accomplish a very, a great amount of things if we just put our energies in the right areas.
Well, now, Solaris, do you think what they call ascension is that shifting consciousnesses?
Yeah, I think it's shifting. Well, there's different kinds of ascension, but it
Right.
is about frequency and the morphing of a planet going to a higher level of consciousness itself. And then, of course, people ascending into a higher design work of who they really are as multidimensional beings. So I do believe that, because as we are experiencing all these higher frequencies, our molecular structure and our DNA is changing. And with that comes higher consciousness. But it also means we let go of the density and all the programming, which is all about linear illusion, false matrices. We've got to let these things go. So I do think that we can ascend into that, but I think ascension is also a personalized thing. So people either make a choice to go into themselves and start growing and evolving spiritually, and then getting clarity. Because when you have clarity, you can see what's going on here on the timeline. You can see what's happening here, what needs to change. People don't have clarity. They're confused and they're distracted.
Astrologically, what's happening now with society, the global society, does make a lot of sense, because we've got Pluto in Capricorn. Excuse me, and Pluto is the dredger of the zodiac. It brings up stuff that needs to be cleared out, the spring cleaner. So since 2008, when Pluto entered Capricorn, societies and all the things that we've witnessed over the past 8-9 years is reflective of what Pluto is doing through Capricorn, because Capricorn represents the state, the authority, the policeman or the teacher or the government. And Pluto is dredging stuff up and making us look at things to see if they really work. And of course, it's exposing things that weren't working. All those house of cards the banks were dealing with all collapsed. And they're trying to reset it all. They're trying to rebuild it using the old traditions, which go back 300 years, but they're not working anymore. And it's simply because of, what was going on and, all the dodgy things that were going on. And we got another 6 years of Pluto in Capricorn, then he goes into Aquarius. And I think it's reflective of what's happening, where the people are taking control now. And if you think of how the internet is and mobile phones, when the things happened, like in Egypt, for example, people told the world through their mobile phones because there was censorship of the media. And that's how the rest of the world knew what was going on.
Right.
So there's a lot of information available now, and people, the ordinary person, can know what's really going on, rather than leaders hiding things from everybody. So I think it's the case of, instead of the tail wagging the dog, as it has been for 300 odd years, it's going to be the dog wagging the tail. And if you notice, our leaders are trying to hang on to the traditional systems. And I think Donald Trump is a catalyst for all that as well, isn't he, really?
Oh, yeah.
He's broke the mold.
He really has. He's anti-establishment. He's really, he's really breathing life into America. People don't seem to realize it, but it's changing dynamics like you wouldn't believe, because those cabals are just loosening their grips. And now, of course, it seems to me like they're struggling. They're really trying to pull anything they can to sabotage.
Clutching at straws.
Yeah. But it's going to change, because they're not willing to ascend. They're not willing to step it up to higher consciousness. They want to control, manipulate people, and they want to dumb people down and keep them entrained. And that's not what the multiverse is about. I always say, step up to the galactic neighborhood, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's a big ballpark. I mean, we can't be living like this anymore. This is ridiculous for everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it is all changing.
I believe it is. And beings like you, too, you make a huge difference on the timeline. We may not think we do anything, but I believe we do. And just hearing both of you, you're so wise. I really enjoy these conversations. I'm really appreciative of you being on tonight. Especially, Merlin, you have some great insight as an astrologer and the background that you have. And I encourage everybody to contact you so you can get some kind of a reading done, because you're very wise. And I like hearing what you have to say. And of course, Madeline, too. Very evolved beings here. And your show's really awesome, too, by the way. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my insight comes from when I was younger. I used to travel around a lot, different places. And I remember one time I was in a particular country in Africa, and it was during the time when Margaret Thatcher was in power and the Falklands War. And there was a lot of propaganda coming out from the newspapers. And I knew some people who were ex-military at the time, ex-Navy. And the propaganda coming out from the newspapers is all about getting the people behind her, so that it looked like the people wanted it. So then she'll say, "Oh, okay, you want it, so I'll do it." And that's why she went to war. And it's all about being re-elected. And of course, the people I knew in this country I was in, they realized what was really going on. And that we had a discussion about it. And what they said would happen happened. It's how the politicians manipulated the will of the people in order to get what the politicians wanted. And of course, she got re-elected after the Falklands War, but lots of people died, of course. And astrologically, in her birth chart, she has Mars before 9 degrees in Libra. And that particular aspect is known as a widowmaker in somebody's chart. And Tony Blair has the same thing.
Very interesting.
So that's quite interesting. Yeah.
Do you do astrology for anybody over there, high-profile people? Celebrities?
Well, I might do, but they don't tell me.
I was going to say, because I would recruit you if I were one of them, but you have that. Well, you probably wouldn't want to be around them anyway, but you do. Maybe. You are very good as a counselor. Did you have something to say, Madeline? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Me, my big mouth. Aries is.
Stop waking her up. Let her sleep.
Oh, she's sipping her coffee. I told everybody. No, it's not. I hope not. Gosh, I hope we're not in a bad dream. Is this a bad dream for you guys?
No.
Just tell me. I'll wake up
tomorrow. It's a fantasy.
Okay, that sounds better. Let's see unicorns, right?
Well, I've got sunrise here, you see, so I'm quite wide awake now.
Well, good. Well, it's dark up here. Of course, we do have the, spring forward, fall back, so we're losing an hour, so we're all going to be cranky in the morning.
Yeah.
Not really, though.
That'll be exciting.
Exactly.
Anyway, Madeline, what were you saying?
I forgot. I have a good memory, but it's short.
Well, it'll come back in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you remember, you might be too young for this, Solaris, but what's his name? Orson Welles, when he broadcast the War of the Worlds on the radio in USA in the 1950s, and he developed, it was a play, it was done as a play, but it was done like a news report, and it went on for quite a few hours, and people were actually going out on the streets looking for aliens because they really believed it was happening. They thought they'd being invaded by aliens.
Right.
And the people arming themselves and creating militias. And it took that to actually stop the broadcast because it was causing a lot of social unrest across USA.
Do you think that was a social experiment?
I don't know.
Probably.
That's what it sounds like.
Would Orson Welles be into that?
Well, you never know.
It's fascinating.
He was an actor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Yeah, Citizen Kane. Quite a famous actor.
Don't you, who's that one guy? Something, is his last name Morris? But if you look at what Hollywood does, they prepare you for things that are going to happen in the future.
They do seem to reflect what's happening in society, don't they?
Whoever thought, I watched this movie when I don't know how old I was, maybe 12, 13. It was called The Great American Smokeout, where they went to this particular town and took their cigarettes away from the people. And they were all kind of going berserko. And then isn't that happening now? Where they don't want, and it's a good thing because it's horrible when you're in these rooms where everybody's smoking. I'm actually glad it happened.
Yeah, for non-smokers, yeah. I don't smoke either, so I appreciate oxygen when I can get it.
I did smoke at one point in time, but like if I would go to the casino, inevitably somebody always sit down next to me.
Yeah, chain smoking. Well, they banned that in casinos.
Well, no, not in the Native American casinos.
Oh, that's a drag. Yeah, you can get asphyxiated. I worked security at casinos, and my hair would smell like smoke. It was disgusting. My clothes would smell like smoke. I couldn't stand it.
I'd be sitting there winning, and they'd sit down next to me and start smoking. It's like, oh my God.
Their mojo. They're working the mojo. They say tobacco is a grounding energy, too, for a lot of psychics. I don't know. But that's something.
Well, shamans use tobacco, don't they?
Right.
Native Americans use it for various rituals.
Yeah.
So
the shamans.
Purposes. Yeah.
I could see
when I was in Thailand, the shaman, she would take a puff or two of a cigar and then she'd blow it in your face. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I've come across that. Yeah.
So what was that supposed to do?
Talking about.
I have no idea because I didn't participate in it. I
smudging,
watched it.
It's like using sage for smudging. It sort of purifies, gets rid of evil spirits, that kind of thing.
She took like flowers and hit you over the head.
Jeez.
And then she took like an ivory from the elephant, you know, like an ivory kind of knife. And she
hit you over the head?
No, hey, no. They kept saying, "Oh, Madeline, you want the healing. You got to go over there and get the healing from her." I said, "No, I don't. That's not my type of healing."
What is this? She abuses you with a bunch of crap.
Yeah, she probably slowly smoking their faces, batting them on the head with stuff, and then taking the ivory tusk and running, you know, they're on their backs and getting them almost bloody. It's like, no, I'm not down for this stuff. You know, say a couple of prayers or something. I'm good with that.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of stuff they're on. I'm sorry. That sounds a little bizarre.
Some of it is extreme. Yeah, it's like the African witch doctors, isn't it? They do some very strange things.
Well, yeah.
Which don't seem to be acceptable.
Right. Well, I'm wondering how many of them are taken over, too, by entities themselves.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Which, of course, they think they're probably doing healing with the entity when the entity's actually taking them over and not doing a whole lot. So.
Well, it's interesting because the smoking thing reminded me of a story of somebody I used to know. She actually worked in a university and she was a research chemist. And she was telling me how she was mentoring a graduate who was doing a thesis in the Roman people. And she was actually looking at how much lead they had in their bodies from how they used lead, because they used to ferment their wine in lead. And they had lots of water through lead pipes, and they had used to eat off plates, lead plates, and also their forks used to be lead. So they had lots of contact with lead. It was the magic metal of the time. And copper was the other one they had, but copper was for wealthy people. If you're wealthy, you could have lead or copper things or gold things. But lead was the norm of everybody else. Anyway, this graduate, she went around to different archaeological sites and found bones of dead Romans, took samples of their bones and analysed them. And she found the lead content in their bones was very, very high, much higher than the normal amount that you could live with. You know, if you suddenly ate a lot of lead, it will kill you, kind of thing. But they have much more than the amount that would kill you if you ate it, as it were. Not that you can eat lead, but anyway. And the theory was that because they'd grown up as children, being exposed to it, and then as adults and all that, you know, so the body's like arsenic. If you give it in low doses, the body tolerates it and adjusts to it, so you can live with it. And lead is a similar sort of thing; it creeps up on you. But her theory about it was it's no wonder that they conquered most of the world, because lead affects the brain and makes you violent and aggressive. And so, you know, they went around conquering everywhere. Yeah, they couldn't conquer the Scots, I suppose, but they went around different countries, didn't they? Made a big empire by killing everybody else. So I suppose it was their society must have been quite a violent society. Of course, there's the gladiators and the arenas they had, the Colosseum. But they actually went around killing people and as entertainment. So I suppose the society may have been quite unhinged if they're all lead poisoned.
Right. That's a good point you make right there about toxicity and also environmental toxicity. Even here in America, I always wonder, you know, so we have like a zombification far left right now. They're acting really weird. I mean, they're not even protesting. They're just bizarro. And I would say that that's something to do with toxicity to some level. It's got to be something. I call it a brain virus. Yeah. Some people think it's archons. You can call it whatever you want, but there's something going on.
Yes, there certainly is. That's for sure.
I mean,
well, the latest trend now is to get rid of diesel vehicles because they're all brought in. They got rid of petrol vehicles because lead, they used to put in petrol. And they got rid of all the old paint. Remember, all the old paint used to have lead in it. That was all disappeared. And so then they brought in diesel vehicles, and now they discovered the diesel vehicles are causing lots of problems with like asthma and allergies and lots of heart and lung diseases and problems, and early deaths ultimately.
Interesting.
Well, what about with the chemtrails?
Right. Yeah, that's huge. We have a ton of chemtrails over here. I don't know, Madeline, do you get a lot of chemtrails where you are?
Oh, yeah. And they were really coming down in Florida and here. They were doing it a lot today.
I just can't stand it when they do that. Yeah, we were discussing
this. You almost
this.
have to stay in the house.
Yeah, it's totally. I can tell energetically speaking, and also on a lung level. For my lungs.
Well, and don't you think too that sometimes it's not only the chemtrails, but they put in different kinds of illnesses, and then to see who's going to get sick and who isn't going to get sick.
Yeah, they have what they call a chemtrail flu.
Right.
I've talked to Russ Tanner. He's been a guest on my show before. He talks about the chemtrails and geoengineering a lot. And it has a lot to do with that. I mean, the stuff that they're putting into these aerosols is very, very toxic. Supposedly there's some nanotechnology or nanoparticles. I don't discount that. I do know that what they are doing, and we touched on this with my guest last night, Cara St. Louis, is that they're literally blocking the sun from all the photon energies and the photon electric energies that are transmitting that actually help assist us in our light body and our DNA activation and fuel our cells and our atoms. They know that this helps us, the sun. So they're blocking our sunlight, and that's a big deal, whether people realize it or not. So I'm a solar baby too. I really love the sun. I feel by sunlight kind of an energy being to some degree. So at least I can be. But yeah, a lot of that. Must be. What about over there? Do you get a lot of chemtrails, Merlin?
I don't know. I don't think we do in the way that you do over the States. I mean, we've always had, you see high-flying airplanes. I mean, I remember even back in the 60s, you see the condensation forming behind them, and you still do see that now on the blue sky. But I don't think we have things like you do in the States.
They're making tic-tac-toe boards out there, and
getting real
all
creative.
All kinds of stuff.
Bouncing radar signals,
There are a lot more airplanes around there now, aren't they, than there used to be. If you look at an airplane tracking site, there's thousands of airplanes going around the place.
Let's not forget the
high
drones.
Altitude.
Yeah, bunch of junk in there. Well, they're not supposed to be flying around my place. I live up in the mountains, and now they changed the flight paths, and so everything has been changed. Yeah, which they're not supposed to be doing. So I think there's some problems with that for sure. But everything is being engineered to some degree, and if you can live as organically as possible, I think that's the best solution to the equation.
But even with the food, Solaris, don't you think if you're going to eat organic, it almost has to be grown inside?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, everything becomes contaminated. Well, I think to some degree everything is contaminated, but I still like the idea of using ultraviolet or frequencies. Insofar as I think frequencies are a solution to a lot of this, insofar as how we can negate some of this toxicity we're being exposed to, even energetically speaking.
Yeah.
Well, now
even on a personal level.
I got this. I don't know what you would call it. Like a grounding technique, or it's like what you do is you picture this like thin tube of purple light, and you bring it up from the core of the earth, and then you encompass your body in it, like you're gonna put twine around your body, but it's a purple light. And you go clockwise and then counterclockwise. Bring it up, bring it down, and bring it up and bring it down.
Yeah, it's like the violet flame of transmutation. Yeah, violet's very good. It works. I mean, people. Well, you should probably know this. All of you guys all know this. I'm sure the listeners do too. But colors are very impactful in consciousness and frequency.
Yeah,
they really do shift the dynamic of somebody and also the vibration. So.
Yeah,
I like the violet flame. I've worked with a violet flame before, and some other things, but it's creative visualization. Once again, Madeline, it's just about projecting energy, taking responsibility for your environment, but setting that energy in motion, which I think is really significant. Most people don't do that. I don't think they want to take the time.
Well, there's a condition, isn't there, called SAD, which affects people in the wintertime,
Yeah, sad syndrome.
Because of the longer, darker nights, shorter days. And it can actually affect people's moods, can't it? Shut them down really effectively.
Yeah,
It's a bit like hibernating, I suppose.
I would get, well, I got a little bit of it in Pennsylvania. When I lived in Florida and lived in Arizona, I didn't get it because the sun was there all the time.
Yeah, that's nice. That's how it was when I was on Maui. I loved it over there because of the just the nice energetics associated with it. Yeah. I do miss that. I miss nice warm weather. But I always say that winter.
I have some friends up in Sweden and Scandinavia. They're describing to me how in the summertime, in August, when they have a barbecue, they start a barbecue at 6 o'clock in the evening, and then they'll carry on. And when they look at their clocks, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, but it's still bright sunlight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and they don't have a sense of feeling tired because the sun is still up. They think it's just a few minutes or a couple of hours, but several hours could have passed.
Yeah, but doesn't it stay light pretty long, though, in Europe, Merlin? Because I remember when I was in France, I mean, I was walking around the street, and again, my feet were killing me, so I was looking for a shoe store. And it's like, well, maybe there's a store open. And then we looked at our watches, and it's like, no, I guess there isn't, because it's like 11 o'clock at night, and it's like, why is it still light out?
Yeah, that's right. It can be, well, I mean, I've experienced sort of around 9 o'clock when the sun sets, and so it can still be light around 10-ish.
Yeah.
In the summertime, in August time, July, August. So you can still do things, and the nights are shorter, and the dawn is early as well. So it is interesting. It struck me when I went to the southern past the equator down south, and where they have 12-hour days, and there's no sort of seasonal change, and that's quite strange because you have this cut-off. In the morning there's the night, and then there's a little bit of dusk, and then there's the daylight, and it's hot sun, and then the same thing at dusk, where you have this reddishness, and then it's dark, and you don't have the in-between bit. It's quite strange that you have in the northern hemisphere. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah,
that sounds nice. Yeah.
Well, when were you in? But it was strange to get used to that 12-hour change, the sudden cut off.
Right. When did you go to France there, Madeline?
Oh, I actually went to Belgium.
Oh, okay.
And it was like right around the time when they were when they were talking about changing over to the euro and all that kind of thing. Because somehow we stayed in this hotel, and there were a lot of different kind of politician kind of guys and stuff. And then we took the train, and we went over to Paris, because it's just a train ride from Belgium to Paris.
Yeah, just down the road.
But that was funny. We went in. I would go in the trains. Well, I thought it was a train station, and I'm standing in line, and I'm waiting, and I look around, and I come out, and I said to my friend Marsha, I said, "That's not to get train tickets. That was the post office."
So funny. Oh well.
Yeah,
that's his life, right? That's funny. So before I know we're going to run out of time, but we have a half an hour. We're good for now. But I wanted to let everybody know how to get in touch with you all once again, and also how to listen to your show before we forget.
Okay, they can tune in to KCOR Radio, www.kcorradio.com, and our show Life in the Hologram is on a Tuesday, and it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till 5. And on a Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. No, that's Pacific 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2. And then Merlin has his show on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. And that's the same time, isn't it? Same time as Tuesday.
Yeah, and he does astrology.
In Northern Europe, it's in the evening, 8 p.m. And the Thursday show is at 5 p.m. in Europe.
Very nice. Great show. I applaud both of you.
Yeah.
You're a nice combination.
Thank you.
Very nice combination.
Marvelous. That's nice.
It is. You're so funny. You know, he has this really dry sense of humor, doesn't he, Madeline?
Mhm. Yeah.
But now I'm starting to pick up on your beat. Now you better be careful, Merlin. Now I can read you. Okay.
Okay then.
So let me ask you something, Merlin. Do you ever predict the time of death with your astrology? I know it sounds kind of.
Oh, is that a hint? Do you want me to go now?
No, I was just asking. You know, do you ever get that? I mean, with your
Yeah.
looking at these.
No, I
Okay,
know. Yeah. It's interesting because I mean, you can look at birth charts and you can do. People ask questions and say, "Oh, so when am I going to die?" And you can sort of look at things and say, "Okay, you're going to die then." But what I found from a life point of view is there are several times when transits occur in the birth chart, like Pluto goes over your Saturn or squares it or opposes it, or the moon crosses something. And certain planets that do designate when something eventful could happen, and whatever it could be. But what tends to happen is that we get ill. And there's various times in life when we have a serious illness, like you might have an appendicitis, or you could have something that needs surgery. You could be in a car accident, something like this. And it could be a 50-50 chance of surviving. And when we're young, we're more likely to survive it. As we get older, then things change, and we might not be so easily able to overcome the effects of an illness or the injuries. And it's often the secondary things. I mean, it's like if we have something going on where we have an illness, and so we got a virus, for example, and we're in hospital. They treat us. They can't treat the virus because it's a virus. There's no cure for a virus, so that has to run its course. So what they do is they give us medication to prevent us getting any secondary infections from bacteria, and it's usually the secondary condition that kills people because the body doesn't have a resistance or something like this, And as we get older, then it happens. And then when you look at somebody's chart, you see, okay, that's it. It's like George Michael, for example. Aspects in his chart when he died, which do show that he had something going on which affected him. Mm-hmm. And if he was healthy, he might well have overcome it, and it would have been okay. But it affected his heart, and he couldn't overcome it, which was unfortunate. Mm-hmm. Maybe if his boyfriend was in the house at the time, then he could have saved him. Who knows? Maybe not. So yeah, there's certain aspects that you can see in retrospect as to why somebody might have passed away. And, all those people died, famous people died during 2016. We did look at their charts on Cosmic Connection, myself and Caroline. And we could see in hindsight that certain aspects are coming to play. It's like you look at a clock, a quarter of an hour it chimes, and if it's cuckoo clock, cuckoo comes out on the hour. Certain things happen when the hands reach certain places on the clock, and the astrological birth chart is similar to that because the planets are constantly moving around in a circle orbiting the sun. So it's like a giant clock.
Right.
And when certain planets come into certain alignments, then they either oppose each other or they harmonize with each other. What I do with decumbiture is look at somebody's chart if they have become ill. And then you look at certain aspects, like you look where Saturn is, and you look for what caused the illness, and then you see where Saturn is. Saturn represents the doctor, and then you see if it's in a good place or a bad place. Then you can know if the person's going to recover or not. Mm-hmm. That's something you can do with decumbiture.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting.
I think the answer to your question is yes. You could predict when somebody's going to be well. Not well, or not going to pull through. But on the other hand, they might, right. And it really is up to that person, really, if they want to get through it. From what I've discovered, people who are very, very ill, when they recover, they often have stories about, I wasn't sure if I could pull through or not, and I had this dream about something, and they can actually identify that they had a choice whether to come back or not.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. What about Princess Diana? Did you look into her death transfer, or did you look at her chart?
We have. Yeah, we have looked at her chart, and there were astrologers that actually warned her not to go to Paris because in her astrocartograph, which is a picture of the world map, and then the planets are superimposed on there according to the positions they would have been when the person's born. And she had Saturn crossing Paris. It's directly over Paris. So several astrologers from all over the world actually warned her not to go there, and there were actually sealed envelopes sent to the astrological societies predicting her death, as it were, which were to be opened on the event of her death. And
but let me ask you this, Merlin.
Astrologers,
do you think she's really dead? Did anybody see her body?
Okay, I don't know.
No, really.
I don't know. I don't know, and there are lots of stories about that, aren't there? And there's lots of anomalies about what happened, just as there are in lots of other things that we know about.
What do you think, Solaris?
Well, it's hard to say. I think that if anything, they probably have some part of her that's been cloned, and insofar as just being able to clone her. But I don't think she's. I think she probably transferred out, but I think that they have ways of resurrecting people in a different formula, so to speak, with transhumanism. That's my take. I think they stored something of her. That's my impression. There was a question here also from Zippy in 405 in the chat for you, Merlin. It's I'm a Virgo sun and it's like Virgo, sun, Virgo, moon, Taurus, rising. What does your guest foresee? All right, look in your crystal ball, Merlin.
Was it Virgo, moon, Taurus, rising? Oh, I can read it. Okay, yeah. Virgo sun, so they're probably quite hygienic. They probably like cleaning, like things in order, like a place for everything. And the Virgo moon as well. So when they're upset about something, they may go into cleaning mode, and if it doesn't move, it gets cleaned. They're probably quite hygienic and like clean things. They probably like showers and having washes and things. But they got a Taurus ascendant, so they're a person that has a slowness about them. They're probably quite reliable. And they may collect things. They may have a collector of resources. They might like going to antique shops or thrift stores or boot fairs and picking up stuff, bargains. Their home is probably decorated quite lavishly, although it'd be neat and tidy. But they've probably got good quality things in them. And let's see, it's opposite Pisces, so this person's going to be affected by the current Neptune and Sun in Pisces, so there could be some things going on with regards to their relationship area, and it's going to be even more so as Venus pops into Pisces in a couple of weeks' time, as she's retrograding into Pisces. So there's going to be some things going on with regards to the love life of this person, and even spiritually as well. They might have a spiritual awakening, which can be difficult for Virgos because they need tangible evidence of things. So, yeah, wonder what year they were born. The year would be interesting.
Yeah. Put your year in if you want. That's a very, very interesting read. You know, Virgos can be neurotic, too, the ones I've encountered. What do you think? No offense to you in chat. I'm not talking about you. I have met some Virgos that, well,
are off the hinge.
They can, it's true. They can be very much. It's ruled by Mercury. You see, Mercury is the mental scientist, rules our thought processes. So your Virgo people can have a conflict because there's the mental going on, and then there's a Virgo, quite practical, physical people. And if you think of nurses, for example, that's ruled by Virgo, and people in service, it's all Virgo kind of activities. So they're quite conscientious people. They're also quality as well. They like to give quality, so they're perfectionists. So they can be upset about things quite easily, and very critical and very self-critical as well. If a Virgo tells you to put on different clothing,
okay, over there.
Excuse me.
You need water? Let us know.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Just have
water.
A drinky. Carry on.
Okay, we'll sit here and talk for a second. Yeah, I've met some interesting zodiac signs. I was always curious to know what you know, like a Jack the Ripper, what kind of zodiac sign that would be. Maybe a Scorpio, a dark Scorpio, or
well, he's going to be on TV.
What?
He's going to be on TV.
Ooh, Jack the Ripper.
Well, it may have been a Cap.
Yeah, they're having a new show. Actually.
Capricorn.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
because
everybody.
his what he did to people was very surgical, and surgeons, doctors are ruled by Capricorn. He's very precise in what he did.
Very
So
interesting.
they could have had strong Capricorn aspects.
Well, what were you saying, Madeline? I'm sorry, I keep running you over.
There's a TV show coming out about Jack the Ripper.
Mhm.
Somehow he got back in a time, he came here through a time machine, or Jack the Ripper's back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've done a lot of shows on Jack the Ripper in the past. I've always been interested. I always like the detective side of things. I always like to investigate stuff like that. I always found that an interesting case. You remember the Night Stalker? That was one of my favorite shows too. I'm sure y'all can relate, but remember?
The Night
There was,
Stalker.
You know, did you guys remember that series with Darren? Was it Darren McGavin? Never mind. Wow, I'm dating myself. She was.
I probably remember it, but I don't.
I know somebody listening
remember
does.
The name.
It was called The Night Stalker, I believe, wasn't it? And she was born in 1978. There, Merlin. The question that the Virgo.
Oh, okay, 78. So that was.
She's just a young whippersnapper.
She's a youngin'.
She's the horsey. So horse people, if you imagine how horses are, this is in Chinese astrology. Horses are very sensitive, and they need lots of TLC. So this lady, as you say, with Virgo aspects as well, she's going to be quite a sensitive person. She will need lots of reassurance, and as a child, she would have needed lots of reassurance and tenderness and gentle talking by the adults that she trusted. If Virgo children don't get that, then they can have dilemmas with their confidence as adults. So that's something that may be happening. But the horse sign. Harrison Ford is a horse sign, and horses tend to be lucky. They tend to be in the right place at the right time. And if you know the story of Harrison Ford, he's a carpenter, and he was doing something to the door of the producer's office when they were reading the script to Star Wars, and they just asked him to come in and read a few lines for them to get the feel of the script, and he did it so well they gave him an audition. So yeah, horses can be in the right place at the right time. They tend to be sort of lucky, but they have to be receptive to it. Sometimes horses can't believe their luck and sort of reject it or dismiss it, ignore it. So you have to be receptive to it, and it will happen for you. So yeah, have a go.
It's pretty interesting. What year were you born in, Merlin? What?
Me? Well, actually, I'm quite old, so I don't know. I've forgotten when I was born.
Okay. Well,
He's ancient.
I'm just curious, like, what was it, the rabbit or the dog or the horse? We won't talk about the year we're born and the illusion of, right? Because it's really not really relative anyway.
I'm a pig, actually. I was born in the year of the piggy.
Oh, were you? Interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Madeline?
I think he said I'm the rat.
Rat? My sister was born
Which year
in
was
the rat.
it? Which year? Rats are quite intelligent people.
Which year?
She doesn't have to tell you, does she? She should text you.
All right, don't tell me then.
There.
She just did. Told you. We're not disclosing that on the air. I'm the year of the bunny rabbit. Can you tell I'm just a harmless bunny?
Oh, you're a rabbit.
I'm a
so
rabbit.
Everybody's friend. Or a cat.
I'm everybody's friend? Really?
Yeah, you can be a cat as well, can't you?
Yeah, that's definitely me. Yeah. Puma. For sure. That's very fascinating information. I'll tell you what, it's really intriguing, without a doubt here. So are you all writing any books or doing any workshops, either one of you?
No. Well, I do workshops and I teach.
Okay.
I teach astrology and various other things.
Excellent. Do you do that on the internet or is it at a class?
No, I go places and talk to people, have groups of people. But yeah, I do it on Skype as well.
Excellent.
People want to Skype me.
Yeah. And Madeline, what about you?
I'm thinking about writing a book.
You need to write a book for sure. I'm surprised you haven't already.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to get
paper, pencils.
I have all of that. Get down what I want to write about.
Well, you could write anything, couldn't you?
I could.
You could write it while you're traveling.
Well, a biography or your spiritual practices. I find it really interesting that everybody has their own method of healing or what their insight is insofar as how they see life. And I always believe that everyone should do something, write a book on their biography or their for healing practices, whatever it is, because it really
As long
does
as they're
have
over
an impact.
25.
What's that?
As long as they're over 25.
Yeah, truly.
There's
I
quite
agree
a
with
few
that.
biographies about people that are less than 25, which seems a bit weird.
Like what, 2 sentences? Yeah, I haven't seen those.
Oh, yeah, there's a few of them, these celebrities and
Brother.
people on talent shows have written their biographies and they're only 22.
Get it.
Perhaps it-
You know what? They don't
perhaps
even
it
grow
shows
up until they're 45, at least, in my
I
opinion.
know,
Sorry.
yeah.
Seriously.
Well,
I-
after the Saturn return,
Man.
astrologically, after your Saturn return, when you're 30s, that's when people start realizing what life's all about.
Right. Yeah, and by the time you realize what it's about, it's time to leave the planet. We're like, forget it. I'm not coming back. So.
Yeah. See how good that works out.
Yeah, I keep telling myself I'm not coming back here.
That's what I keep saying too. No.
It's like, I think I've seen enough of this place, everybody. Bye.
I know.
It's good, it's temporary.
Get us out of here and abort the mission. No intelligent life form.
I'm telling you. Truly. You know, I always say with those people that vector in the UFOs, I'm like, why aren't you summoning them to just get us out of here? What's up? And what's with Area 51? And they have the black triangle supposedly, or wherever they have them. Come on, boys. We're sick of this
place. It's like me and my granddaughter were driving in the car, and we looked up, and it was like we thought we saw a UFO. I says, "Listen, if you're here to pick me up, I'll even go up on the roof."
Well, I think Douglas Adams had it sussed. I mean, his theory was that we're just an experiment from mice.
Wow. Interesting.
If you ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's all in there, and the answer is 42.
Very interesting.
But
well, we are, I mean, in my opinion, I think we are an experiment to some degree. I think they've been doing a lot of experimentation on a lot of different levels. So, but once you realize the matrix and you're out of it, it's kind of like we already have the cheese. Let's get going. You know, I'm done with this.
Amen, sister.
I think we're all burned out. Are we just getting old, like old dinosaurs? Or I'm sure other listeners feel the same way we do.
Well, the thing is, when you see some people start to wake up and things, it's like, well, where you been? Right. You know, we've been seeing this stuff and doing this stuff for the last 30 years.
Exactly.
Where were you? What you been doing?
Yeah, I see that on, mainstream science. You know, they'll always say science is now saying that, oh, there's afterlife. There's a proof of afterlife. There's proof of this. Well, we've already known this forever, right? So all of a sudden it's real because they say it is. That's what's so infuriating.
Yeah, and we can now tell about consciousness.
Yeah, really? I'm like, did they just take a hit of acid or something? I mean, what's going on?
Mathematically, they figured it out.
Yeah, isn't that great? No, they basically been studying everybody else on the internet, and then they figured it out that way, and then they plagiarized it and put it out there as mainstream. Then you have your talking heads. That's what I've seen anyway, but yeah, don't get me started with that. So, but it certainly is a pleasure to talk to both of you tonight. We're almost ready to wrap this up in a few minutes here, but we'll keep going.
Yeah, it was marvelous.
Yes,
what's that?
Rehearsal.
Merlin's going to jump back in bed.
Merlin, I just love your name.
But it's mine. I'm not sharing it.
I know, but there's only, you're very unique, Merlin. You're the real deal. We like that.
I think we're all are, aren't we? Just like everybody else.
Yeah, very unique beings. There's no doubt about it. So anything on your bucket list? Anything that's upcoming with either one of you?
Well, I just did something on my bucket list.
Yeah.
When I was at Disney Springs, they had a hot air balloon on a tether, and I went for a hot air balloon ride.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
It was. I've always wanted to go in a hot air balloon.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, that's great. A wish come true.
Yeah, I think my bucket list is leaving the planet. Just with my body, not dying. I just like to go off planet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which you probably will one day.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to hightail it out of here.
I keep saying none of us are getting out of here alive.
That's funny. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a roach motel, isn't it? Let's hope it's not, though, right? Roaches check in, but they don't check out. Well, we actually are roaches, but we really have this is a casual conversation, obviously, but I certainly have enjoyed talking to both of you tonight. I think you're wonderful people, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really a pleasure. And also, is there anything you want to add? We have about 2 minutes plus or minus here. Is there anything you wanted to mention before we sign out of here?
Well, I'll just say be careful about Venus retrograde. Venus has gone retrograde now since last Saturday. And anybody thinking about getting married, think twice. Anybody thinking about buying a car, make sure it's got an engine in it. If you're going to buy a house, be very careful. Make sure there's no subsidence or anything. It's going to cost you lots of money when Venus goes straight again on the 15th of April. So just be aware that buying things can be dodgy over the next 6 weeks.
Excellent. Good advice. Very much so. And you, Madeline, anything you want to add?
Nothing in particular. Or they can go to look at the website, www.lifeinthehologram.com.
Excellent. Yes, definitely check out the show. It's fantastic.
Our email on Cosmic Connection is reading@kcrradio.com. If you want us to do your free mini reading on astrology, then let us know.
And that's today, Merlin.
That's right.
It is in a few hours' time.
And don't forget about the time change, too.
I know.
That's
or
right.
Feel the wrath of Tina.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you both. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I appreciate all those questions in chat. My pleasure. And stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dajemecki coming up next to sail you on tonight from Down Under with their awesome show. So make sure you tune into that one. Yeah, turn into. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Until next time.